I'll start with a little bit of me, and then for my entree, I'll have a deluxe of me version of me, and for my dessert, nothing sweeter than myself. So I'll have a little bit of me, and to drink, I'll have some ice water, please. Just kidding. Leo, you are the actor, right? It's early, you guys. Hello. Hi, Leo. So I have the planets today up on my iPhone 4 from like 2000. Planetary aspects that might be going on for us right now. You have a lot of planets in your second house. I believe that the Sun and Mars are in your second house of finance, right? And earned income, right? As well as security that you create from your money and your work. So you're thinking about that. You're also thinking about environment or change in environment. You might be just thinking about the place that you reside, or you might just be thinking about the place that you work, where you live. Those things might be changing. There might just be more money coming in, or maybe you're just experiencing a constant flow of money. And hold on, something just happened, you guys. Hold on 1 second. Oh my God. The lampshade. Sorry, that was wild. Anyway, that fell. So something is falling apart, um, and maybe that's why these changes are occurring. Maybe in your work, or maybe also in your home, in the place that you are, your environment that makes you feel comfortable and safe. So your environmental security is a focus right now. So is how you are driven to make money, and how you are driven to provide security for yourself, because the second house is definitely talking about providing something. Okay. Ooh, I'm hungry. So you might be hungry for something, or you guys might just be feeling like kind of sort of, famished, or maybe a little exhausted, right? Or an experience may feel like it's drained, right? Because I was also getting like some draining something, like pulling the drain, pulling the stop, letting all of that stuff go down, and then having the water come in clearer, right? To fill it up again, filling up the tank, right? So you're on an empty tank, and you need to sort of like fill your tank up again, and this is just by doing certain things that are going to allow you to feel like you are constantly evolving, right? Because Taurus, I believe, is your 10th house of career, right? Career advancement and career stability, also how you govern yourself, you know what I mean? And that's Uranus, and that's the moon conjunct right now in your 10th house. So that's bringing some surprise changes to your money, right? The moon being in the 10th house is talking about what you're good at, right? And what you're good at, because the moon is opposite, Saturn, and the moon is ruled by the rules Cancer, and Cancer is opposite Capricorn, which rules the 10th house. So for you, your 10th house is Taurus, which trines the energy of Capricorn, and that's where Saturn and Pluto are right now. Okay, so that energy of Saturn and Pluto being in Capricorn, and then what house is Taurus from? I'm gonna guess Taurus is the fourth house from Capricorn. That's so weird. Anyway, there's some stuff going on with security. There's some stuff going on with home. There's some stuff going on with mother. There's some stuff going on with emotional instinct and the emotional impact that people leave on you. Maybe it's a Capricorn that you're involved with. Maybe there's some plutonic stuff going on. You know what I mean? There's some fear, there's some power, there's some resentment, there's some obsessions, there's some confrontation, but there's emotional confrontation. You know what I mean? And then Uranus being in the 10th house is saying that there's some shakeups and some changes going on to the way that you saw things steadily, right? Existing, your stability, right? Because I talked about your second house being Virgo, right? So we have a trine going on for you right now with those houses. I mean, everything is trining for everyone in those houses, but for you, it's your 10th house, and then it's your second house. It's second, fourth, and 10th. I'm guessing. no, second, sixth, sorry, second, sixth, and 10th. So those are all the earth houses. So there's some things going on that have to deal with processing things, maybe the changes of processes, right? Trying to hold on to some structures that are making you feel like, it's providing you with consistency. In the earth sign, that energy is talking about consistency. So you're looking for more consistency. I'm not even looking at the planets today. I'm really just talking now. Look, I got it to reference. I'm not even talking about it. But they're the retrograde planets, right? Those are in Capricorn and those are in Taurus, right? So Pluto and Saturn are going to start to go direct in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. I think that Pluto is going direct on like October 2nd or the 3rd, and Saturn is probably going direct at the end of the month. I have to look at that again, but I'm pretty sure about Pluto. Okay, and Pluto is actually a very influential planet for you. In this book that I've been reading, the Astrologer's Handbook, Pluto has a very significant role to Aries and Leo, which both are, the sun is very important to both of those. So it's kind of like the sun and Pluto are the two extremes of each other, right? One is very external and one is very internal, but they're both wielding power. So there could be some power struggles going on right now. It's like Saturn and Pluto are two powerful planets in the same place right now, okay? And they're conjunct, right? And they're both retrograde. So that struggle is really going on. Like, what's my process? What am I building? And how am I allowing things to affect what it is that I am building right now? How am I relating to my experience, and how is it affecting my confidence to relate to my experience in a positive way? Because we had that eclipse, right? And retrograde happen at the same time in Cancer, which opposes that energy of your sixth house, right? Being Capricorn, of your everyday, your day to day. So there might have been some things that happened that were initiated out of, security, or needing to feed something, or needing something to be nurtured, or needing something to be cared for. You know what I mean? But there was some karmic energy that was involved, right? There were some underlying things, right, that you didn't realize were going to be a part of this experience, right, and its circumstances, right? So now we're going to come out of that, right? You're coming to the end of that, and it's like the sun is also kind of like at those critical degrees of Virgo in your second house, right? So that means that some changes are about to occur, because Virgo is talking about mutable energy and changing things, right? And it's taking the structure in your life and it's playing Tetris with it. Tetris is a great game for Virgo, right? So you are playing Tetris right now. You're doing fine, but it's still Tetris, and Tetris can be very it could definitely foster some anxieties, right? Anyway, so that's what's happening, and Mars is there. So it's saying that you're active within this game of Tetris, right? That your life is right now. Okay? So you're like moving the pieces, you're doing it, right? You're moving it, you're changing things, and if something doesn't work, you get rid of it. You know what I mean? You might even have to start over. And that's what Libra, that energy is talking about. Oh, now we're going to start over again, So this game of Tetris that you've been playing is going to end soon, especially with the sun being in the critical degrees of Virgo, right? And Mars is still going to be there. So you're still going to be working within that energy of being very proactive in executing these changes and administering things, that type of thing. Even when the sun goes into Libra, because once the sun goes into Libra, we're going to be thinking about how we're going to balance things out, how we're going to bring more pleasure to our experience, how we're going to own up to how we may have been giving away our power in some kind of way. And Saturn is a planet that is exalted in Libra, right? But when the sun goes into Libra, then it becomes debilitated, because it's not necessarily just about, the self anymore. It's about we, right? And how we can build better structures, or how we can be more aware, right, of each other. So you're going to be aware of your relationships, right? Far and wide, right? And also close, interpersonal relationships, right? That type of thing too. Anyway, but that's going to be your third house of communication. So it's going to be talking about, there's going to be more communication happening within your relationships. You're going to be coming together with more people because you're going to be coming out of this sort of like phase, kind of like hibernation, but not really. You know what I mean? Because it's like once you focus on all of the things that you need and that you want, you're sort of like, what am I saying? Isolated, because that second house energy sometimes can isolate itself, right? Once it, just because it feels like it has what it needs and then it doesn't need anything else to come in and change that for it, right? So now we're thinking about, moving on from that and allowing things to sort of like give us the impulse to react to change, right? And it's kind of reacting to change in a positive way, because you're going to be thinking of bringing balance to situations, but it's communication that's going to bring more balance. So you have to communicate more, but it's not saying, pound your opinion. We're not talking about, being very dogmatic or anything like that. We're just saying, open up a little bit more. Also, it's kind of like relaxing and falling back a little bit and settling into the energy of the change, allowing the change to occur and getting used to the change. You know what I mean? Okay. Anyway, um, and then in your fifth house, right, which is the house that you rule, you've got Jupiter going direct now in Sagittarius. So there is some movement forward, right? There is some expansion. There is a greater perspective on things, right, and where you fit into to the world, right? You're understanding, where am I? What do I fit in? This is where I fit in. I need to go to where I fit in. I need to be where I fit, not necessarily fit in, but where I feel comfortable, where I feel like I can, achieve the most, right? For sure. And then we're talking about your sixth house, right? We already said that karma, right? There's some karmic debt you've been paying in terms of work, some things like that. There could have been some sort of like control issues in terms of work that you were dealing with, maybe controlling boss, or maybe somebody was trying to control what your job was, or what your responsibilities were, or what you had to do to provide something to a situation ongoing. You know what I mean? What that was. And then the Pluto is there saying that you're being tested karmically and you're being tested, spiritually, because Pluto is definitely talking about the spiritual aspect of yourself that goes very deep, that you cannot quite reach, but it's always there. These are like notions of the past. These are like, just like whispers of the past, right, with Pluto. But it's how the past affects the present, okay? Pluto is also talking about the future as well, okay? Past, present, and future, okay? That's why it has that control. That's why it is the dispositing planet to your actual fifth house, which is the house of self, which Pluto actually really does like to be in the fifth house, because it's bringing in that energy of changing and creativity and transformation. Because transformation is a part of creativity, right? Ooh, okay. Anyway. So you need to be more creative, right? You need to be more resourceful. Okay, you're learning to be more resourceful, and you're learning. It's kind of like humbling that you have to be the resourceful in the way that you have to be. I don't know what that means for some of you guys. Not a lot going on in your seventh house of relationships, especially for Leo risings out there. And then in your eighth house, you have Neptune in Pisces. So some of you guys could be dealing with some Pisces energy. Some of you guys could be dealing with, Neptunian energy for sure. You could be dealing with Cancerian energy, right, with this Neptune being here. Um, yes. Also, let's see. And then in the ninth house, of achievements, right? And we're going, you got Chiron, so this is the wounded healer. And then you also have Eris, which I don't know a lot about Eris, but Chiron is talking about things that have affected you, right? And this is what I was meaning when I was talking about Pluto, right? Pluto being in the sixth house, and then um, Chiron being in your ninth house, okay? And six and nine are pretty relative to each other, because that's just talking about like the nature of things and the way that things are. You know what I mean? Because like when you think about that 6 and that 9, it's kind of like a spiral, and that's very spiritual, but it's also very like scientific. So sometimes it's almost like the way that you see things working out, the course that things sort of evolve and change into, right? The flow of your energy and the flow of your life. You feel like it's very natural, but then it's also very like inexplicably scientific too. It's just kind of weird. You're like, oh my god, I'm starting to understand like why some of these things have happened to me, and lo, I'm making these crazy connections. You know what I mean? So the ninth house does talk about making connections, and it's talking about making connections from afar so that you can heal from the past experiences that you have had. But it's like you have a change of perspective and you have a new outlook, right? But the new outlook is still affected by the wounds of the past, right? That's why we're talking about past, present, and future, with Pluto being in your sixth house of habits and every day. You know what I mean? So it's like what you allow in and what you allow to affect you definitely will. So that's why you have to be a little bit more discriminate, right? And that's what Saturn and Pluto are teaching you in your sixth house, being more discriminate, because sometimes you can be very like, okay, let's do it, let's go. Being Leo, you know, you can almost get excited about anything because you can, you know, you can put that creativity and that you know pizzazz and that high level of interest into something. Okay. And then now we're going into your 10th house, and I was talking about the moon conjunct Uranus. So this book is really amazing, and I love it. Now I'm just going to have to look at some aspects. So let's see what the moon conjunct Uranus is telling us here, and that'll give us some energy about your 10th house and what's going on here. Okay? Moon conjunct Uranus. This aspect indicates intuitive ability, original imagination, and erratic emotional impulses. I talked about that. The native is subject to peculiar and sudden changes in mood and will often behave unexpectedly and impulsively. Yes, honey. Domestic and family life may be unusual. The home is often used for entertaining friends or as a meeting place for group activities. If the conjunction is afflicted, natives may be cranky. This is, you're not the native, but this is what's happening now. You might be cranky, erratic, irritable, and not always reliable, right? But if it is well aspected, resourcefulness, which I talked about, and an unusual creative ability is evident, right? So the ability to change things and shake things up and move them. People with this aspect, or people who have this going on right now, seek the strange and unusual. Their emotional life requires excitement. You can bring excitement to any situation, like I said before. If the aspect is afflicted, extremes of emotional behavior may be seen. And wow, there's your astrological aspects in the houses. I haven't even done anything with these cards yet, child. Oh, but here's some things that I was getting. Oh my god, look, this is how it's happening with this. I was like, don't throw your head back during the reading because the crystal little headband is going to fall off. It's a necklace, but I put it on my head because I want like something to wear on my head or my face that's made out of, you know, crystals and stuff. Anyway, these are the messages that came in to me before I started doing your reading. Good terms, trying to get on good terms, right? What are the terms? Resolution, smooth, smooth over a situation, something over a situation, resolution over a situation, you know, non-ego driven conversations, humbling conversation, honest conversations, authentic, right? Release, honest release, right? Repair. Scorpio season retrograde is going to be in your fourth house of emotional impulse, of emotional security, of emotional awareness, of nurturing, right? Of home and mother. And Scorpio, if that's a sign that is very significant to you, or you know, what is your eighth house? Pisces, very significant to you. Scorpio and Pisces, those are all water signs. And Cancer too, because all this is the trining energy, and this is the last phase of Mercury retrograde in the water signs for the year of 2019. So this is going to be the last Mercury retrograde of 2019. So, and it's in the house of transformation, but that's in home and work and stuff like that for you. You know what I mean? So, what's going on with the home? What's going on with security, self sufficiency? What's going on with what you put into something and what you expect to get out of it emotionally? Sorry. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. So, yes. And then we're going to have a new moon in Scorpio during the Scorpio retrograde season, and that's going to be the moon being in its fall. But anyway, we're definitely going to be clearing things out, and we're going to be just, like I said, unclogging that drain, letting it go out, cleaning out whatever vessel that is, which is our spirit, and then we're going to be filling it up with clear, crisp, clean water. Okay? Or feelings. So here we go. Now I'm going to shuffle your cards, child. Wow, September Leo. We're going in. Okay, yeah, so that's what's been going on for y'all, and you don't really have a lot going on in your 11th house here or your 4th house right now, but like I said, that's coming in about a month, in about 5 weeks. Okay. Your card just showed itself to me, strength. So you're going to need to have some strength around that time, probably. Just because things are going to be coming up, to the surface from your subconscious and from the depths of your, whatever despair you might be holding on to. Because a lot of us hold on to despair sometimes, and we need not. Look, the devil, right? Swiftness, Mercury and Sagittarius, 8 of Wands. Last shuffle. I'm gonna cut it and then I'm gonna lay them out. I'm not doing cause and effect. I'm only doing ascendant spread today or this month, I guess. I haven't really done any cause and effect, but I have done a Lenormand tableau. So, everything hasn't actually been that. Here we go, Leo. What card is at the bottom? Knight of Swords, the Game Master. Somebody's playing games? Was someone playing games? Are you trying to think of skillful ways to process situations or to process, you know, whatever it is that your responsibility is demanding of you right now? Thinking quickly, right? Thinking being on your toes, Leo. Okay. Let's see. Where are we going with this? Challenge. Right, so this is Gemini. So you might be dealing with the Gemini, or you might actually be dealing with the Taurus, right? It's talking about communication, but then it's also talking about how you are processing things in your mind. This is also saying keeping some of your thoughts to yourself, right? You may have a lot of things going on in your head right now, and you might just be keeping some of those things to yourself. Okay, and you could also be trying to conquer a situation or fight to sort of like come out on top, right? But it's kind of like you're having to fight things not intellectually but mentally. You're having to stay mentally strong, right, within a situation because the knights are definitely strong, right? But they are intimidated, but they have to maintain their strength within the intimidation, right? When they're faced with the intimidation. So you could be faced with intimidation right now. You could be keeping on a poker face too. So it could be that you're kind of like stoic, right? That type of thing. But there's a lot going on in your head right now, in terms of what it is that you feel, you think is happening, what you see is happening, what you know is happening, you may not even be saying everything that you're thinking right now. For sure, you're not. I mean, who says everything that they're thinking? Annoying people. Okay. So yeah, you're just kind of like not trying to let some people or this could be another person, the Gemini, not saying much, or maybe you're not saying much to them or they're not saying much to you. You know what I mean? And it's almost like you're trying to put something behind you now. Um, yeah. It definitely talks about moving forward too and progressions, right? But the progression, like there's progress within the progression. They're like interchangeable, right? Progress, process, whatever I'm saying. Anyway, let me go ahead and flip over your card. That's your current energy here. You have the Prince of Cups. So this is kind of like, new energy in terms of your emotions. Some emotional healing has to take place, right? This is also creativity, using your creativity to help you heal from a situation that you probably feel like was affecting you emotionally, and you couldn't do anything about the way that it was affecting you. You know what I mean? These emotions were real and they were yours, and they were ones that probably hadn't been felt before, and they could have something to do with this Gemini or with this Taurus here. Or, also there's some karmic learning situation that was happening in terms of like how you processed emotions, or just your emotional maturity was being tested for sure, with this Knight of Swords being here, and then the Prince of Cups being your main energy. Okay, let me show you this card. Let me see what you're saying. Gemini, spot on. I've been annoying, haha, saying too much. Gemini is not saying much. Thank you. Of course, definitely not saying much, because it's like you need to know where you're standing. Let me show you this card too, because this is what the Knight of Swords looks like from the Urban Tarot deck, right? It's a chess game. You see what I mean? And there's someone there. The horse is behind him. The actual knight is behind him, but he's facing away from it and he's making his move. So this is somebody probably making their move in secret, or this could be somebody, just talking. It could be somebody communicating with someone else, right? Or this could be someone communicating with someone, and feelings are involved, right? And they're keeping that from you, right? Or maybe you don't know that. Or maybe, that's just for some people. That really isn't for everybody. Anyway, this Prince of Cups is here. That could be any water sign that is, being tested emotionally, right? What, like we said, your fourth house is Scorpio, Leo, and so that could have to do with, this new phase that's going to come in and change in Scorpio season during November, right? End of October and in November, and it's going to bring you into a newer experience of how how you're dealing with your emotional process, because all of the princes and the princesses talk about the beginning of a new process. Okay, so this is the beginning of a new emotional process for you. The challenge, High Priestess, right? Bam, been coming up a lot. We just had that Pisces full moon. This is talking about cleaning out, clearing energy. Didn't I say draining? Didn't I say taking that stop out of that drain and filling it up, filling that vessel up with clean, clear water? Mm, you know? Sorry, I'm not indulging. I'm just like, wow. So the High Priestess talks about emotional sensitivity and how you deal with that, right? You have to also be kind to yourself. You have to nurture yourself, because you're going to be affected by all of the things that are happening to you, especially if you're in a situation where you're feeling more emotional sensitivities to your environment, right? So you have to create that calm atmosphere within the environment that you control, right? Because this is instability with it being Pisces energy, and there's something that you're revealing to yourself. That's something that's being revealed to your emotional subconscious is revealing to you when you're identifying with it, right? You're communicating with your emotional subconscious, right? And you're like acknowledging what it is that you need to do, right? But anyway, this is talking about security. Okay, what's going to make you feel more secure? Creativity, beauty, love, sensitivity, color, sound, taste, touch, right? And the High Priestess is sort of like that symbol of Gemini, right? The two lines. Can you see it? There you go. So it's talking about sensitivity, like Gemini. Gemini came up, right? The princess and the princesses are more sensitive because they don't have the development to deal with the karma that they're being faced with. That's why it's testing you. That's why you learn and you grow, because when you pass the tests, right, the game master, that's when you have had that experience that allows you to go on and deal with situations in a more meaningful and a more mature way, right? They don't affect you as much. You have to be seasoned, right? And you have to be pre-seasoned. And this is the pre-season to Libra. Okay? So now let's flip over. This is your present. Music, y'all. Art. Make it. Paint. Create stuff. Draw. Keep a journal. You know what I mean, my friend? A fellow reader of mine, Ariel Vega, he keeps a journal, and there's all sorts of stuff in that journal. It's not just writing. It's doodling. There's this sort of like, fun tape that you can put on your pages to make them very interesting. You could put, do whatever it is that you want to do. You know, paint some canvases, right? Make your own clothes. I'm not talking about sew, but you can change them. You can make them interesting. Do stuff like that, right? That feeds the nature of you, okay? Feeds the nature of you. And I was talking about 6 and 9, nature, science, mental too, right? Because it's Gemini. You have to do things that are going to reinforce positive energy, because we experience little distractions, little traumas, little things throughout our life, right? So when we are plopped in a situation that is our challenge, then we really have to work, because we should be doing this anyway, right? Not waiting for things to get bad to start to put that positive reinforcement into our life, ourselves. You should be doing that anyway. I promise you, that's part of your sixth house stuff. Start doing that, right? Your sixth house is Capricorn, so it's saying you're gonna have to do more work to do it. There's more work involved in you creating those habits for yourself. So you're definitely changing your habits. You're plastered, right? Plaster. What is plaster? Plaster is when you sort of like repair something. And the sixth house is talking about repairing things, making them better. Pleasure, 6 of Cups here. Look at that. So there might have been a relationship in the past that brought you pleasure, but now it's bringing you emotional sensitivity in a different way. So this is definitely talking about, a relationship, okay? This is Scorpio energy too. And this is talking about sexual pleasure as well. Are you using sex as a ways to escape? Or is sex something that isn't necessarily a part of your reality now? Also, and there's a six, so I was talking about the sixth house anyway. Pleasure comes natural to us, right? And that's why I was talking about doing those things that bring you pleasure. And that's why this card came up, you know what I mean? And it's in the sixth house, right? Or it's a 6, okay? 6 of Cups. So it's saying you have to always practice those healthy habits of doing things that bring you pleasure. It could be sex, you know what I mean? Sex isn't necessarily the most important thing, it's just one thing. You think about all of the different things that bring us pleasure that having sex actually can't really match up to, right? If I look at a painting that I painted, it's not going to bring me the same pleasure as like hooking up with somebody, right? I might forget about that person that I hooked up with, but 3 weeks later, I'm going to be looking at this painting on the wall that I created and feel good about it. Positive reinforcement to myself, okay? So we're talking about not using other people, right? Sixth house service as a mean to bring pleasure to us and our experience and how we feel fulfilled. I mean, sex is great. I haven't had sex in like a year. Okay, and that's the truth. I'm not saying that I can't get. But the 6 of Cups is talking about the past as well, and it's talking about habits of the past, right? And then the sixth house is also talking about playful energy is going to bring you more pleasure, right? Listen to this music that's playing now. It's sort of like marimbas. I've got African music playing for you guys, Leos. But yeah, you could be dealing with some Virgo energy, or you could just be dealing with like the sensitivities of how you always have to reinforce, you know, the pleasures within a relationship, right? Because you can't just think that my existence and my just being here is bringing that person pleasure. Okay, you know what I mean? People have dogs and cats and animals and children that they sort of like just have there every day. A dog just barked. And they could not be doing what it takes to provide to that relationship. So there's some things that may have not been provided within an experience of a relationship that would have been bringing pleasure. But that just means things have to be changed now. Because it is a six. It is talking about changeability, right? And adjustments. So these are adjustments within relationship, and these are adjustments that are happening over time, right? Based on the past experiences and the habits of the past. Now we're making those adjustments, okay? Spiritually, emotionally, right? Meaningfully. Okay, so it's saying that if you don't look at the details of a situation, then it won't turn out to be what you wanted it to be overall. So you do have to look at the details of something. Okay, but then it's talking about not staying fixated on those things, because this is Sun and Scorpio. So this is talking about control, it is talking about pleasure, it is also talking about transformation. And that's what is happening when the Mercury retrograde happens in your fourth house, which that squares you. So there's some energy of having to push past obstacles, right? So you probably had to push past some obstacles in the past in terms of, emotions, or how you allowed a relationship or a lover or an experience in work to affect you. Oh God, I'm moving on from this card because now I'm feeling exhausted. So there's something that was exhausting there. Ooh, this reading, y'all. So in your sun position, we are dealing with death, Scorpio energy, transformation, the sun being there, right? This card, death, is like, look, these cards are intense. This is the death card, you guys. Look at that. Okay, and like death has no face, right? And then this is like surgery that's happening. The clock is back here, right? So this is saying that time has run out on something, right? It's a four as well, so that's talking about energy of being squared, and this energy does square you of Scorpio. It's Pluto. It's also transformation. Pluto has a significant, connection to Leo, which the sun rules, right? And then it's Scorpio, which is your Mercury retrograde. Keep track of Mercury. You know what I mean? Especially when we go into Scorpio season, you're going to have to just kind of go inward. You're probably going to go into sort of like a hibernating phase. And we'll be in the fixed season of fall. So we'll be right in the middle. Okay. So it might be cooler. It might be colder outside. You might experience some coldness from someone, or you yourself might experience being cold to someone. This could have something to do with the Scorpio, or it could have something to do with your eighth house energy of Pisces, because Scorpio rules the eighth house, okay? And that's where the last Mercury, or the first Mercury retrograde was. Okay, this is number 13. This is talking about power as well. It's talking about facing your fears too. So there's bringing focus to facing your fears, or maybe you're faced with something that you feared would happen or feared the most. This transformation is going to actually bring more foundation to your life, or more of a there's a new foundation happening. This is a clearing out of energy. This is almost like very, what am I saying, surgical procedure. So there are some details that are happening. This is cutting as well, because Scorpio rules sharp objects, okay? And Mars is very significant, and Mars is in your second house right now, which is Virgo, which is with your ruler, the sun, okay? It's hard to believe that Leo season was the last one, but we're almost in Libra, so that's why it feels like it was so long away. 2 months. And this is definitely a number of it's like you are now made aware of your weaknesses, right? That's why I said humbling. There's humbling energy, right? And it's funny that you got the sun in Scorpio in your past, and then you got the Scorpio card, death, in the sun position here in this reading. So it really is talking about a supreme focus of Scorpio season for you. But this is probably good, you know what I mean? Ooh. So you're going to have to definitely push past some things soon. All right, you got the Six of Swords in your moon position. So this is Mercury in Aquarius. Aquarius is opposing you. That's your relationship. right? Seventh house of agreements, right? Understandings, contractual bonds, things like that, right? Also, how you relate to everything. And it's funny because I was talking about science earlier. I was talking about nature or something, or nature and science, something like that. But the science card came up, which is Mercury in Aquarius. Mercury is exalted in Aquarius. This is talking about like search. It's so funny because it's like this is talking, the science, right? The heart's there, surgery. You rule the heart, right? You see that heart there? So there's something that's happening that's passionately moving on or moving forward because this talks about moving forward. And I was saying how life can be a science, right? It's very spiritual, right? It's very emotional, but then some things feel like they just work out like a science. You know what I mean? And this is talking about allowing yourself to see that many things are possible, right? Allow yourself to think outside of the box or something like this. Day to day structures that are just being washed away, you know. And this six of swords is saying that you're being a critical thinker, thinking like making things, thinking down to a science, and pleasure, right? The six of cups, and science, the six of swords. We're talking about, in the past you were working with yin energy, right? And now in your moon position you're working with yang energy. So there's a level of like strength that is having to be displayed here within your emotions, right? In terms of like moving on. Okay? So, it is saying that you're definitely evolving. This is evolution as well. So you got the science card, right? Cuz science is always evolving, right? And you got it in the moon position. So you're talking about evolution, you're talking about moving on. You're talking about going from one way to a new way. It's innovation, right? And it's also just kind of like allowing yourself to be very surgical, right? These two cards here in your sun and your moon are very surgical, okay? Being discriminate, making plans, right? Bringing order to a situation. So science is definitely order, right? So now it's kind of like in order for you to feel like you are getting somewhere or you are achieving something, right? You're going to have to allow yourself to do something radical, probably, not in a negative, bad way, but change something, right? A structure, something that you probably were used to. You know what I mean? Just be innovative about these changes happening. So that's what we're talking about. Ooh. In your anxieties. You got the lovers, which is also another six. Okay. So you have anxieties about, communication, but also processing the communication or getting your thoughts across to someone else, right? You feel like you probably aren't being heard, okay? You know what I mean? And it's almost like pulling teeth sometimes. That's why this science card is here in the moon position, right? And then the moon is always, kind of like a reflection of your anxieties, right? Because your anxieties are sort of like your emotional process that you can't necessarily deal with because it's out of fear, right? And control. And that's why the death card is here. The moon is a direct reflection of that. And your anxieties reflect your emotional process, or it's a connection to your emotional process. So it is talking about, something with the relationship, probably with your love life, or something that it has to do with the consistency of a love relationship, or the consistency of how you are identifying with, principal understandings in your situations, right? Things that you are learning, things that you are sort of like, what sort of processes are you adhering to so that you can make your situation better? You know what I mean? Because that's what the sixes are talking about, making something better, improving something, right? Changeability. So you have anxieties about this change. You have anxieties about, committing to something new, right? Because you've been trying to commit to something else for so long, or for the time being. Oh, anxiety is about, love. Anxiety is about getting back to love, right? Getting back to oneself. Let's look. Speaking of self, let's look at your Mars position. Speaking of self, let's look at your Mars position. Ace of Wands. Talk about the self. I was like, where am I going with this? But it really is that. So you're getting back to you. You are the torch bearer of your life. You are the one leading the way in your life. Remember that. Okay, so this is one of impulse, right? So maybe you are inspired as well, because the Ace of Wands is talking about inspiration, and it's also talking about desire, right? And it's talking about understanding what needs to be considered, because the aces are a consideration, and they're ruled by the magician, the mag in this deck, which is Mercury. And then you have the lovers here, which is also Mercury, you know what I mean? And then you have Mercury and Aquarius here, so you could be dealing with the Gemini sun, moon, or rising, or you could just be dealing with communicative structures or communication, point blank. And then you have another six here, right, which is sun in Scorpio. So yeah, definitely the self drive, creative drive, you know, um, inspiration, passion, heartfelt consideration, new beginning, passionate new beginnings, right? And that's what this Six of Swords is talking about too. And this death card here, damn, there's stuff changing and it's new for you. And innovation and stuff like that. And then in your 10th house, you have Uranus, the planet of change, conjunct the moon, which is always talking about changing and evolving. So there's some change that's happening within this evolution that you're experiencing, right? You're here for it. You're here for it. This is being very present and accounted for, right? And the death card is crowning that. Okay, so there's definitely something that's new that's coming up. And I was going to say, Uranus, the Fool. I talked about the radical change, Uranus being conjunct the moon. Okay, and here's Uranus right here as the Fool. Optimism, faith, hope, risk, opportunity, God. Being, you know, um, definitely connected with spirit, with whatever faith you might have. This is also, psychic insight, right? But this is also reflection, because Uranus is the esoteric ruler of Libra, and Libra is talking about direct reflections, right? So you could be reflecting on an experience, or you could be reflecting on your past, and now you're thinking about your future, because Uranus is very futuristic. And you have Mercury exaltation in Aquarius, right, which is ruled by Uranus, and that card is crowning the Uranus card here. So there really are some major radical changes that are happening, new beginnings, structures changing, habits changing. So your habits are going to change, like the way that you get to work. It's talking about, paths, where you might live, what you might be doing on a day to day. There's some things that are being adjusted, and they're going to affect you in a, real way. But it's not saying that it's going to be a bad effect. It's just saying that, like, you're going to definitely feel the effects. So you feel the effects of Uranus, right? And Uranus is in a sign of commitment, and it's talking about work as well. This change, right? This is going to bring you more pleasure. That's why it's in the Venus position. The Fool definitely likes being in the Venus position. Venus likes being optimistic. The Fool is changing things. Venus responds to change, right? So this is good. You're responding to change, and the change is responding to you. But you definitely have to keep an open mind. You definitely have to keep your perspective nice and fresh. You definitely have to be strong within your spirit, and with your ability to see that many different things can be adjusted and happen for you, because this is the higher octane of Mercury. Mercury is very heavily influencing this reading here, for sure. And then you have Uranus, which is, it's bringing you there. And Venus is a sacred planet, I believe it is. So, this is saying that, like, this change is going to feel like it's meant for you. And also the things that you have had, the experiences that you have had thus far, is saying that, like, things were meant to be this way. Okay. And then there are like three doves. They look like they might be pigeons, but I'm gonna say that they're doves. So this is creativity, right? And this is creation, right? Uranus is sort of like the oddball out, thinking outside the box, right? This is a clearing of a relationship as well. So Uranus could be tearing something down. So the Fool is kind of like the not at all fearful tower. So it's like, instead of the tower crashing, you're on the tower being like, I'm gonna jump and experience this. Okay? So let's look at your outcome and the energy moving forward. Change. Oh, sorry, Leo. Look, my Venus is in Leo. Okay, so I'm like, yes, and I'm gonna have to listen to this later because I just be talking and then I go back and I'm like, damn, bitch, like, wow, I was talking to myself like through something, or something was talking through me to me. Anyway, but you got change here, so you're starting to see things develop, right? Look at this Swiss ball on the bed here behind the dried flowers. Look at it. Okay, so it's like how you acknowledge or how you stepped up to the plate with something, right? You're allowing yourself to be influenced, right? I said that you're a reflection of this change, right? You are a reflection of the change, okay? And because you're a reflection of the change, you are getting that reassurance, right? This two being here related to the high priestess that is here, right? Because look, this is reflecting, right? And this is water, okay? And this is a two, and there is a reflection here, right? So, you're reflecting on the change that you are experiencing and that you're seeing. The Fool came up right before the change card did. It says that you are responding to this change because the twos talk about responding and reacting. You're reacting to the change, okay? But it's reacting to the change in a positive way, in a meaningful way, because it's Jupiter and Capricorn. So you can see that you're going to be able to grow and expand from this change. You're going to feel less restricted, right? Because the aces do sort of restrict you because it's only one. So now you're feeling less restricted because you're seeing things happen and develop. So now you feel like there's a little bit more hope and optimism there. And the two, the high priestess being Pisces, Jupiter is one of the ruling planets of Pisces. So, Jupiter being in a two right here is saying that you're seeing some things grow and you're liking it, So this is great. That's the energy moving forward, is that you're going to see these changes and they're going to be positive. There's going to be more work involved because when you add something else, right, another person, another substantial element, or you change it, then you're going to have to react to that. That's kind of like when a baby is born and you're like, now I have to like live my life like this baby is like here and it wasn't like yesterday. Oh. But you know what I mean? It's like now the baby's here. Okay, now we're changing. I gotta take care of it. I gotta feed it and stuff. Anyway, so this is saying that you're feeding this baby that you have given birth to, that is your new life or your new perspective. Here's your future card: Ace of Swords. Truth. Trusting in this newness, trusting in your future. Trust your future, right? And see what it is that it's showing you. There is an acknowledgement of something here. You're also cutting ties. Like I said, the Death card is here in your Sun position. In the future, you got the Ace of Swords. That's talking about cutting ties. That's talking about communication, and it's talking about connections. Right? It's a new beginning in terms of like, you know, probably your network. Yeah. And this is your mental state as well. So this is kind of like bringing yourself into a new mental state, clearing the air, clearing your head, clearing your mind, and these are the senses too. So your senses could be experiencing something new for sure in the future. This is very airy. So it's talking about a new perspective, the change, right? Right? So this change that you're experiencing, sorry, is bringing you a new perspective. Okay? And there's an idea that growth is possible here. These are great cards to get for your future outcomes, right? Now let's look at your ascendant, which is the energy that we want you to step into with purpose, intention, creative will, drive, and confidence. Okay, here's your ascendant card. The therapist, honey. Scorpio got this card yesterday in their past position. The therapist, this is Cancer, right? This is the Queen of Cups. This is talking about, what the energy we want you to step into is being, drawing from this experience of what you're reflecting on, seeing, right? Because this is talking about reflection, like I said. And the therapist energy, the Queen of Cups energy, gives you the opportunity to reflect. So, you're going to be given the opportunity, right? Because the queens are ruled by the Empress, and that's opportunity, that's being open, that's welcoming. So, you're welcoming the opportunity to reflect on the situation so that you can experience, the change the way that it was meant for you to experience, right? How are you going to appreciate what it is that you're being shown when you are reflecting upon your experience? This is also forgiveness, right? Because there might be some wounds from the past. The Queen of Cups is representative of Cancer energy, and Cancer is your 12th house of undoing. So you're reflecting on this undoing, this emotional undoing, or the undoing of this feeling, right? Or you might just be reflecting on your mother, or your mother could be helping you out, right? She could be talking to you, she could be helping you process your emotions here. This is also you, just kind of like putting more energy into you. Because sometimes the Queen of Cups definitely gives more of herself than she gets from others. Um, so this is also that you just needing a trusted friend and being able to talk to someone that you feel safe and comfortable with, right? So some of you guys might need to seek some kind of like, you know, being consoled, right, by a friend, or maybe you have to figure out ways to console yourself, right? The Queen of Cups is definitely aware of her emotions, and she responds to how she responds to that, you know, her emotional instincts. So yeah, I'm gonna say definitely pour into your creative energy, or pour into your spirit with your creative energy. You can do that very well, Leo. You're focusing on you. You're clearing the air. You're bringing more new focus to things. You're determined, right? You have the strength of power and the will. You're seeing the changes occur. You're taking the risks, but you're doing it in a courageous way. You might be keeping some things from people, but that's because you're protecting yourself. Because you don't want to get burned, or you don't want to feel like you've been beaten, or you've been gotten, or you've been bamboozled, or you've been whatever it is that you feel like is negatively expecting you, right? Aspecting you, negatively affecting you within your situation. But damn, this has been a lot. Um, and I was like, get the Oracle of the Radiant Sun to clarify. You know what? I'm gonna pull the Oracle of the Radiant Sun, but I'm just gonna do one card because I was like, oh, it's Leo and Oracle of the Sun. It's them. But the lampshade sort of fell off of the floor lamp that I have up, and then the light bulb was sort of coming out. So there could be something being brought to light or to your awareness. So one card from the Oracle of the Radiant Sun, all I can do because I've talked a lot. Leo, with the African music playing in the background, honey. Like, share, and subscribe, y'all. Follow me on Instagram, Providence Tarot. I'm also NYC Kendrick. I just posted a lot of dance videos on NYC Kendrick and some dance photos if you'd like to see that. Oh, I posted a dance video on YouTube as well because dance is very spiritual. Sometimes I just dance because it's a way for me to meditate actively. You know, it's active meditation. You're moving, my body's moving through the space. You know, I can feel the spirit. You know, it's like God moving through your body, especially when it's improv because it's just really coming from a pure place. You know, sometimes you have things that you always resort to doing when you're improvising, you know, because they can kind of be just like go-tos. And, you know, when I do that, it shows me like what I can do to make my improvisation better or what kind of movement quality I have that I should probably use as like a tool in my own choreography. Anyway, here's your, oh, we froze. Here's your card from the Oracle of the Radiant Sun. See, that was the end of the reading anyway. Here's your card. Escape. Mars and Pisces. Okay, so you could be escaping a relationship or you could be escapist, right? And, you know, it's funny because, you know, you got the High Priestess at the beginning of the reading, which is talking about escaping and, you know, doing so in a positive way that's going to feed into your soul and your spirit and allow you to feel more in tuned and attuned to what's going on around you and feel less sensitive, okay? So you, oh, hold on one second. Sorry, I'm on the phone. Okay, thank you. Sorry. Okay, yeah. So you definitely could just be, you know, using means of escapism, and that's kind of can be unhealthy because then you're not really looking at what it is that needs to change or what needs to be focused on. You know what I mean? And like I said, the 12th house is the house of undoing, and you know, this is the house that's closest to God. You know what I mean? So like, you really do just need to be, you know, more connected to your spirituality, more connected to, you know, your God energy, your divine energy, because that's going to feed into you. You know, you need to look towards your light source so that you can feel refreshed. You know what I mean? And then you can feel like you can get through almost anything when you are constantly drawing from that divine energy, right? That is basically the reason why you're here. So you just have to remember that, you know what I mean? When you're experiencing challenges and when you feel like you want to escape your reality, because your reality is really what's showing you, you know, what's happening, right? So don't escape the reality, do something about it. You know, and doing something about your reality might meaning actually physically escaping, you know. So if some of you are out there in something that is, you know, dangerous or unhealthy, then, you know, definitely get out of that. Anyway, I'm going to leave you there because the video has frozen and the reading was pretty much done before the reading froze. Okay? Bye.